Welcome to the Home Builder Digital Marketing Podcast. Over 90% of today's home buyers start their buyer journey online. Here we talk with not only industry experts, but also your fellow home builder marketers to learn how you can succeed in our incredibly competitive digital world. And now, here are your hosts, Greg Bray and Kevin Weitzel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Home Builder Digital Marketing Podcast. I'm Greg Bray with Blue Tangerine.
And I'm Kevin Weitzel with Outhouse.
And we are excited to have joining us today Monaca Onstad. Monaca is the CEO and founder of OnPlace. Welcome, Monaca. Thanks for being with us today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, Monaca, for those who haven't met you yet, let's start off with that quick introduction. Give us a little bit of background and history about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I'm a wife and a mother. I like to start with that because that's the most important part of my life. I have two boys at home and a wonderful husband, but my professional side, I am a placemaker. So I started back in the NPC world, 20 plus years ago. I actually started on a builder side and loved creating, which was weird because I grew up on a farm where we didn't build homes on the land, but I just loved creating homes for people, community, and fell in love with it and continued throughout my career. So I've done amazing things across the country. My career started in California, out in San Jose, and then was lucky enough to move to Virginia to a beautiful community called Willis Ford. Spent several years there creating community, and then went down to Lakewood Ranch, Florida. Worked for the developer of Lakewood Ranch for about 6 years, creating community there. When I was ready, what's my next step? I thought, well, hey, what I'm doing here at Lakewood Ranch could actually work around the country for other builders and developers. So that's when I launched OnPlace. That was, February 22. So about 3.5 years ago, we launched OnPlace with just me and one other person. And today we have 70 people on staff. So we have grown pretty tremendously, but today at OnPlace, we focus specifically on master plan communities and builders, helping them understand how to create place. So we do everything from community planning to the amenity planning, understanding who's going to live there, what do they want to do, all that good stuff. And then we also put lifestyle directors on site, and we also do some marketing for them from a fractional marketing. What I found over the course of the last few years is some of our larger developers, larger landholders, I would say, who are becoming developers, they don't have that marketing director yet, right? So we step in and help them with that role. So that's us in a nutshell.
Before we jump further into that, we need for our listeners a factoid about yourself that has nothing to do with work, family, or the home building industry.
Well, maybe this is work, but maybe it's not. I was a farmer, like a real farmer.
Grains and crops, or are we talking about animals and hogs and chickens?
We're talking about grains and crops, corn, soybean, and wheat. So I can drive a combine, I can drive a tractor, I can drive an 18-wheeler. Yeah, did all that in my early 20s. My dad owned a farm. He unfortunately had terminal cancer, and I had to come home from California to run the farm for a while. I had no idea what to do, but learned quickly in 6 weeks how to drive a tractor and do all that good stuff. So, I could drive some heavy equipment if I needed to.
So what was the driving test like for driving a tractor? Did you have to go through any kind of written exam or anything like that? Or?
Well, back then I had to hire a female truck driver. Women weren't really supposed to drive the tractors and the trucks and all that stuff. So I hired a female truck driver at night. There is no written test, of course, because you own the farm equipment. But yeah, I hired a female truck driver at night, and she taught me how to drive all the equipment. I surprised all the farm hands during the daytime hours when I got in the truck and drove it.
Please tell me her name was not Large Marge.
Large Marge.
Tribute to Pee Wee Herman's Big Top Adventure or whatever it's called.
I'm just going to say yes, it was.
All right. So before we get into everything, I just want to ask you one more question. Yes. Is creating a community as simple as just having a Kung Fu studio and a Kevin appreciation room, or is there more to it than that?
There's slightly more to it, just slightly.
I mean, a Kevin appreciation room really kind of encompasses everything, doesn't it?
It does. It does. I mean, I would say that most buyers are looking for that.
Great. I'm glad we don't use a camera on these things because Greg is shaking his head in just utter embarrassment.
There are some times that I'm so glad Kevin's with me on this podcast. And then there are occasional times where it's like, what have I done?
Little known fact, Greg had an addition put onto his house just to have a Kevin appreciation room.
Yes.
Mm.
That is very little known, very little known.
It's actually fabricated, but hey.
Yeah. Greg's like, I don't even know it.
Yeah. And let's talk about Monaca now, Kevin, if that's all
Yes,
right.
let's do that. Let's do that.
Well, Monica, for those who may not recognize that term placemaking, I don't know how well known and widespread that might be. How do you define placemaking? What does that encompass for you?
Placemaking in the urban sense has been around for a very long time, right? So when you're making a town and those type of things, typically urban planners have used the word placemaking for a very long time. But I guess probably in the last 5 years, we have brought it over into the residential market to create that place. To me, what it means is being very thoughtful of what you're trying to do. So not putting up a subdivision, I'm saying quotation marks here, a subdivision. You're really thinking through who's going to live there and what they want to do, what they need to live there. And then you're also putting in things that just make it better. When you talk to a landscaper or a landscape architect, they're going to have their different version of placemaking, right? I mean, for me, I want to make sure that I'm activating spaces, not only actively, but passively. So we build that programming in. So if I know we want to have, Kevin there every Friday night on stage, I want to make sure that I'm building that stage for Kevin because I know that is what my residents are going to want in the future. But it's all about tying that demographic into the place and really understanding what they want. So we're creating that for them. And then we can only create so much because you want to leave some room. I have a really great friend, Dan Sloan, who says this best that, the settlers, once the residents come in, those early settlers, that they can kind of weave into the fabric as well. So we start really that good foundation. And then as the residents come in, they start kind of bringing their mix into it as well. So placemaking is across everything. Brand, super important. So starting with the right story. We like to make sure that story is authentic, that it's just not made up. You can make one up if you want, but really try to tie it into something around the community and then stay true to brand. So I think that one of the things that makes a really true place is creating the brand that really starts with something and then following through with that brand, really just embodying the brand. So placemaking, there's not just one word for it, but it's really trying to make sure that you've got that vision. What is that story? Create the brand and then give the community an opportunity also to bring in their own elements as well.
So this feels like it's something that's a little bit more than, oh, we should put a pool in. Where does this fit in the timing of the whole development process? I'm sure there's ideal
Right.
and then there's reality, but what's the ideal look like?
Well, that is a great question, Greg. So traditionally, the way a lot of master plan communities are built, we'll start there because that's easier. Master plan communities is that the developer will buy some land and call a land planner, and I need to know where my lots are going, right? Because that's what's going to generate the money. And they'll give spaces for where the amenity goes. The earlier we can get into that plan, the better, because we want to make sure we're allocating enough amenity space for that amenity program that we want to bring in. So the earlier, the better. So just last week, I was in Austin working with one of my clients where they have a land plan. And now I'm bringing in landscape architects to say, how do we revise this a little bit without losing lots, right? So that's dollars out the door if we lose those lots. So how do we revise this? How do we get in some more green space? Because we don't want to just pack the lots in, but we know that, this has got to pencil out, right? So early is good because what we do is we understand before even the landscape architect starts drawing the site plan for the amenity plan, we want to understand what spaces we need. And it's not necessarily about how the entry feature is going to look or what the pool is going to look like. Honestly, we go through and say, okay, this is the type of person who's going to live here. So is it family? What do they want to do? And then we say, okay, because of that, this is the lifestyle plan. Here's how we're going to activate for this community. Well, here's the lifestyle plan. And now we need to know what elements and the amenities do we need to carry out that plan. So if you think about the way it's typically done, we say, hey, we want a clubhouse, we want a pool, we want, some pickleball courts. Oh, and now lifestyle come in and just program it, right? Well, then lifestyle comes in and it's like, okay, well, this is not in the right place. it's a fit afterwards, right? And so what we're doing is really like we're building, if you want to call it a wedding dress, right? We're building the wedding dress, fitting it to the body, and then getting married versus we're not buying off the rack, I guess you could say.
In that process, then, when you work with developers and builders, do you find that they've already kind of set in their mind, oh, I want to have this size home and this price point and these types of things within my typical floor plan? And then you're like, oh, well, what kind of buyer wants that house? Or do you find that,
Well,
like, hey, we want these kinds of buyers, and so let's figure out what the right home is, and then also the right type of community for that kind of buyer?
yeah, typically during the due diligence stage, when that developer is purchasing that land, they understand at that point what the price point they need, what they can get there. So they've done market studies and all of that. So they know their price point, and then they're going to go out and get builders to build there based on that price point, right? And so we have a general idea when we're going in where the price point is. Now, I have had clients to say they would come in the middle of a community that's already being, built and buy the rest of the lots. And I've had clients to say, hey, the community is really trending one way. We want to trend it to maybe families. How can we change it? And so, in that situation, it's almost like creating a second community, but how you weave them together. But the point is that they typically have their builder profile. They have what houses they're going to build and all of that when they're in that due diligence stage. Again, they got to make it pencil.
Once that community makes that shift from maybe first time buyer or retiree type buyer, not necessarily 55 plus, but then you go more toward a family focus, you're always going to have that ornery Earl back in the corner lot that's going to be angry because now there's more kids in the neighborhood. Tell him to get off his lawn.
Well, yeah, we do have that sometimes. We do have that. My favorite communities are probably multi-gen. It's the way I grew up. It's the way probably most of us grew up, right? You've got neighbors down the street that may be a little older. You've got neighbors on the other side who are a little younger, kind of thing. I love the fact that, for example, my children get to see different life stages, right? It feels more like life, but that's just me and how I want to live. And so I think that people gravitate toward certain communities based on what they like, right? So Earl should probably maybe not come to a multi-gen
Yeah,
community.
if he drives by the model home and it's right by a playground, it's probably not his neighborhood. Let me ask you this, though, about some of the decisions that are made. How often is it that when liability comes into play, like an active community might want to have an exercise pathway where they have different events, but maybe liability would say, you probably don't want to put those apparatuses out there because it could be a liability issue. Does that ever come into play, or is it more just management and upkeep that's more of an issue?
Yeah, not much. I think more it comes up into like from a cost perspective, operational, that type of thing. I've operated communities from a developer standpoint for years. So we have that knowledge. We're not going to go too far. One of my communities here, they put in boulders for the kids to play on. And at first I was like, they're going to get hurt, but maybe a little danger is good, right? They're going to find rocks one day. They're going to have boulders somewhere. We don't push the envelope that far where there would be some liability issues.
So, as you work with the developers, you're creating this plan, where does the story kind of start to come together? Because there's people who shop based on, oh, I need this many square feet, I need this many bedrooms and
Mhm.
bathrooms. Then there's people that
Yeah.
shop for, I want this type of lifestyle, I want this type of an experience. And the actual home itself becomes slightly secondary to that larger story. So are you guys writing that story, creating that story, and communicating it? And what goes into figuring that out?
Goodness, just last week I mentioned we were in Austin and we have a community there that we're going to rebrand because it's fresh. Nothing's been done yet. My client purchased it from another developer, and that developer named it one thing. We came in and we're like, that just doesn't fit. After viewing the community, I'm talking not just the land, but the surrounding community. So what I did is I went and I did an in-depth look at the land history, and then I toured around the land. I stopped at this adorable little taco truck that's near the land just to get the feel of the community. I talked to several people in the community. So just really trying to get a feel of what's the greater community like, because in my opinion, you never want to just come in and like start building something that's so just plane. So all of this goes into the name, the branding, the feel, what our amenities are going to look like. We want to create a place that fits into the surrounding community, but at the same time to make it so desirable that other people want to live here. The challenge we have today in the home building world is that you can pretty much get the same floor plan anywhere you want in the country. So I can go 10 miles down the road here. I'm in Lakewood Ranch, Florida. I can go 10 miles down the road and get the same floor plan that I can next door type thing. And so we have to be able to have a story, and the more authentic that story is, and then you've got to be able to sell it. So I have one client who really believes in welcome centers, information centers, right? Every community he does in Texas, we do an information center for him because he really wants to ground the buyer with the story of the community. It works for them. They have the best-selling community in Texas. They've got multiple on the best 50 list, but it's not about selling the floor plan. It's about selling the vision, but the vision and the story has to be authentic.
So as you take that vision and story now, you talk about a welcome center, that's the on-site, in-person connection moment, but yet we know that buyers are all starting online first before they come. What recommendations do you have for the marketers to help communicate that story, through the website and through their other digital activities before that buyer comes on site?
Yeah, I think that from a website perspective, it's got to be visually pleasing. That's one thing in the builders, they're still not doing great because most
No.
of well, we have a client, I can't mention who it is, but I'll just tell you this. We have a client who they're one of the big nationals. The division we work with is the largest division of this big national in the country, right? They've got their builder site and that's pretty much it. But, we live in an area where lifestyle is super important. We do all the lifestyle for them. So they were able to get a lifestyle centric website, got approval for it to talk just about the lifestyle that they do in this area. It was a big moment because lifestyle's so important, but when you go onto a builder site, it just shows what home types do you want. They all look the same, right? At the bottom, you scroll down and it's like, okay, here's about the community kind of thing. If we reverse that and we talk about the community first, because that's what people are going to fall in love with is the community typically. From a builder perspective, if you can alter your websites to talk more about the community and talk more about the life that's happening there. And if you have residents already living there, if you can pull some of that out, those experiences they're currently having, that just makes it so authentic. And I know I've said that word like 20 times already, but you've got to be able to tell the story and be real about it. And so that's one of the things on the website. So if you can maybe talk less about your floor plans, more about the community and what's happening there, especially on social, because people, once they start falling in love with the community, they'll figure out what floor plans you have. I'm not saying hide it and don't talk about it at all, but don't go directly to this is a 3-bed, 2-bath kind of thing, because again, we can get those anywhere.
So, little admission here, I've only lived my whole life in working class neighborhoods. No amenities, no nothing other than like community parks and stuff. I don't know, about 5, 6 years ago, I visited Rivertown, I guess. It's in Florida up in the Jacksonville market. They have like 8 different pools and some that are family focused, some that are like exercise focused. They've got one with a lazy river. They've got restaurants on location. They have multiple different parks with different themes, some that are sports themed, some that are just playground themed. It blew my mind. And I can see how that could draw somebody. Does it ever repel anybody? It's just all upside.
No, I would say so. I think there's a happy medium for people, right? So the community you're talking about is like massive, right? There's a lot of
Huge.
stuff. It's great. I think there's a happy medium. And I think it all goes back to knowing who's going to live there, right? So now if you're in Texas, especially in like the Houston area, there's like amenity wars going on. How big can your water slide be? How big can your lazy river be? All of that. And it sells, right? Lagoons and all of that. I mean, it sells there. People want it. I think that when you go to different markets, people want different things. Like, for example, I spent a lot of time in the Loudoun County, Northern Virginia market with Willisford. It was an agri-hood. People were looking for a retreat there, right? Because most of them were commuting into DC. They were looking for a retreat. So that worked. It's really about understanding where your people, where they're working. What do they want? We have a community on the east coast of Florida here, Martin County. They had not allowed development in 40 years. This is like the first development they'd approved in 40 years. it was really important for them to do this open space. So 70% is left in open space, but they're building an entire town there with 4,000 homes and a town center and trails and all of this. But they know their buyer, right? They knew what their buyer wanted and they knew that was going to fit for that county, and it's wildly successful. So, and that's a farm. That's not big slides and all of that. It'll have pools and things. It really goes back to understanding who your buyer is and what they're going to want to do so that you can make sure you're matching those amenities correctly.
It's also really inclusive because, again, coming from working class neighborhood, some of those nicer amenities were typically reserved for people that had memberships or that were
Right.
members of a country club, and they were the only
Yep.
people that got it, even if you lived right next door to it. But all these new neighborhoods, they're all fully inclusive. So you could live in the
Yeah.
most budget-minded home in the neighborhood or the highest falutin, 10 billion bedroom big mansion and still have access to all the same amenities.
And something's really cool about that is not only do you have access to the amenities, you're also hanging out with all those people. Like we're all one, right? At the end of the day, we're all people. You are meeting people around the neighborhood at the amenities. You're connecting. I mean, that's really what I love to do. I love to connect people. And the fact that we get to do that at such a large scale these days is pretty amazing. But that's what it's about. Like you're creating community through these amenities.
Now, ignoring regional draws, if you're in the mountains, maybe hiking is popular. If you're near the ocean, maybe, windsurfing is popular. But if you ignore those locale specific ones, what metrics are you using to determine what you would recommend to a builder or developer? Do you have here's the hot list, here's the not list?
It's honestly a feeling, like it's the study that I do, but it's also the brand and what the feeling of the community gives us. There's elements that you're going to have to put in. Pickleball in Florida, do it without it, and you're not selling any homes, just basic. But what we do is we try to say beyond that, like, okay, yeah, pool, pickleball, all that's expected. But what's the land giving us? How are we pulling out that true story? We have a community in Hernando County here in Florida where it's just some beautiful land. We know that bordered by forest land, so state forest, it's never going to be built on. So, gosh, let's play that up. Trails, you can go through the forest. How do we connect to those? And it's got a little topo, which normally you don't have that in Florida, right? So, how do we address that? So, trails, huge amenity, hugely popular across the country, outdoor open space trails. So, let's tie into that because not only does it tie into the brand, it ties into the land and it ties into what's surrounding us.
Gator petting farms and feeding farms.
Yes. What I know of Kevin so far, I'm not gonna offer you a job.
I can't be an interior decorator. I can't be a designer. And when it comes to amenities, honestly, I am not that client. I'm a patio home guy. I want no amenities. I just want my simple home and an HOA that takes care of my exterior. That's it. That's the kind of buyer I am. But I'm impressed with the amenities that all these places keep putting in. I'm not that client. It is truly a foreign environment for me. But Gator farms, come on.
Gator farms, yes.
And Monica, when you want the guy in the Elvis suit spinning the sign out at the model saying open house or whatever, Kevin's your guy.
I love it.
Before I lose it, I just want to say that when you're ready to start that new HD TV show called Amenity Wars, there's an opportunity there somewhere.
Oh my gosh, guys, yes.
Well,
Yeah.
Monica, we want to respect your time. We appreciate what you've given us so far. A couple more questions. When you think of storytelling, are there places outside of home building that you look to say, hey, they do a good job with storytelling, we need to learn from them, that you kind of use for inspiration?
Yeah, I think there's so many. Going back to the community in Austin last week, I mean, when the team hit on what we thought the brand should be and the feeling, I started looking for other brands that were similar, that had the same feeling and the story. I mean, one brand that I found, they did this beautiful pottery. This gorgeous pottery they were doing by hand. It emulated the brand that I wanted to create. I mean, they had their story on their website and how, kind of the whole process of creating this. And I just thought, wow, like how that emulates community building, right? Or building this place we're going to try to build. And how do we relate it back to this gorgeous company that's creating this beautiful pottery? I envisioned later, because it's not built yet, because we just had our charrette, but like how cool it'd be to actually have some of that pottery one day on the shelves of the information center as a node to like, that's where we thought the story would start.
That's a great example. Great example for sure. If there's a builder listening today who's like, you know what, we haven't done a good job with this. We haven't really thought through the story. We haven't really thought through more than just, oh, we're putting in a pool in a clubhouse. What's like the first thing you recommend they do?
Well, it's funny. We have a couple builders right now that have called us and we're doing this for them. Sometimes the builders think that the first thing is to look at messaging because they typically think messaging is incorrect. And I don't think that's true. Sometimes messaging is a problem, but I think messaging comes last. I think that you need to really take a good look at your community, maybe have some fresh eyes on it because sometimes we get blind from our problems. We can't really see them because we don't want to see them sometimes. So I think you have to go through, look at what you have in a fresh set of eyes, look to see, are there anything additional you need to do? Is there somewhere I could put in some more trails? I think that you play up what you have. What do you have? And how do we play that up, right? But I think sometimes trails are the easy things to come back in after the fact, whether they're sidewalks or what. And then entryways are important, all of those things. But really, one of the quickest ways is also to do some lifestyle. What is your website? Are you doing any programming or events for community members? You can do things like that are super easy, popsicles by the pool or what have you. But try to pull that out of the story, like whatever the community is about. Try to pull that out and put it on your website and social media and all of that, real things happening. And sometimes, even when you don't have a lifestyle program, sometimes your residents are already doing it. So how can you capitalize off that to, chat with your residents? They'll do ad hoc social committees, which are amazing, right? They can do some amazing events. So how do you play into that a little bit? Maybe you can donate a little bit of money to go back to some of their programming, and then you can get some images from it. Step back, look at the community to see if there's anything that you're missing, because it's not always about the message.
Well, Monica, do you have any kind of last words of advice that you'd like to share with listeners today?
I think from a builder perspective, I would say sell the vision first and then the floor plan.
Nice and succinct. Love it.
The one bit you'd tell builders to absolutely stop doing right now.
Well, I think it's selling the floor plan. I know that's their product and that's what they want to sell. And most builders are doing a great, great job. Builders are really into their product because they're builders. They love building homes. This is what they do. If I were the customer, I'm looking for a home. We are building a house right now and everything fit except one thing. I wanted one more thing. But guess what? I know the community. I know the lifestyle that's coming. I know the amenities. We help design them. I know all of that, right? I know what's coming. And so I decided that I was going to go ahead and buy this house, even though it needed just a little something else. The floor plan wasn't exactly what I wanted, but I'm so in love with the community that I decided to buy it anyway. Don't overlook the ability to get the buyer to really key into your community based on what's there. Stop underselling that you got a pool and a clubhouse. We tend to undersell that sometimes. One more thing, it's not succinct, but one more thing. So when you talk about amenities on your builder website, don't just list like pool, clubhouse. That means nothing to me. Give me some images, paint that story for me, paint that story for the customer, for the buyer to say, oh, that's how I want my life to be. It's kind of like fitness. We don't build communities without fitness centers. Typically, you don't do that because people come in and they may never go into that fitness center ever. But when they come in that door to buy that home, they say, wow, I could work out there, right? My life could be better because I could work out there. But now again, I mean, me included, I may never walk into that fitness center.
You build a gym and people buy a membership going, you know what, I could chisel this body. And then they go a couple times like, wow, this is a lot more work than I thought it was going to be.
Exactly. It's harder to chisel than you thought. So the point there is you've got to figure out whatever your product is, whatever your website looks like, figure out how to put what's happening in the community, the images that you're going to have from the amenities. It's not just listing out pool, clubhouse, fitness center. I don't know about you guys, but a bullet point list never got me excited about purchasing anything.
Well said. Well, Monica, if somebody wants to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out and get in touch?
Awesome. They can find us on our website at onplace.life, or they could reach out to me directly. I'm on LinkedIn, Monaca Onstad.
Well, thank you, Monica. And thank you, everybody, for listening today to the Home Builder Digital Marketing Podcast. I'm Greg Bray with Blue Tangerine.
And I'm Kevin Weitzel with Outhouse. Thank you.
thank you for listening. To learn more about how Blue Tangerine and Outhouse can help you generate more qualified home buyer leads, visit bluetangerine.com and outhouse.net. If you've enjoyed our show today, please tell a friend, leave us a review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to join us again on the Home Builder Digital Marketing Podcast.